And that's where we begin, Anthony, with a very blunt warning on the coronavirus from the nation's top doctor.
Yeah, Gail, Surgeon General Jerome Adams says this week most Americans will face the hardest and saddest time of their lives. Across the nation, more than 337,000 cases of coronavirus are reported, but the real toll is likely much higher. More than 9,600 Americans have died. The outbreak is slamming hospitals across the country, including in New York, where cases surged over the weekend. Here in New York, our lead national correspondent David Begnaud spent time inside a hospital in a desperate situation. This morning, he's outside the Navy hospital ship Comfort, docked in Manhattan. David, what's happening there?
Anthony, the president yesterday assured New York that the hospital ship Comfort is ready, but only 30 of the 1,000 available beds actually have patients in them. The ship was not supposed to treat COVID patients, but we're being told that if there's a need, they will do it here on the ship. And there's a real need around New York City. In fact, the federal government sent 1,000 workers into hospitals to help out. And we did ask to go inside that Brooklyn hospital, and we're allowed inside, and they are doing everything they can right now to meet the demand.
Some of them required intubation the second they hit the door.
Here at Brooklyn Hospital Center, nearly 80% of the patients are being treated for the coronavirus. Dr. Joshua Rosenberg is on the front line and has been for weeks. Based on what he's seen, he has a stark warning for the nation's hospitals.
To the rest of the country who are lagging behind New York, and I pray that it doesn't get to that level in any way, shape, or form. God forbid it does. I hope that they're taking this lead time to get organized.
Public health officials say the U.S. is now entering one of the most critical weeks of this crisis. Another park in New York City is designated to be converted into a field hospital. Within days, the death toll could peak in places like New York, Michigan, and Louisiana.
The next week is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment. It's going to be our 9/11 moment. It's going to be the hardest moment for many Americans in their entire lives.
I think we all know that we have to reach a certain point, and that point is going to be a horrific point in terms of death. But it's also a point at which things are going to start changing.
Today, Louisiana is expected to open a makeshift 1,000-bed hospital inside the convention center in New Orleans. The state has more than 13,000 cases. Today, Texas state troopers will stop drivers at the Louisiana border, asking them for documentation on where they're going. And if they're staying in the state, they'll need to self-quarantine for 2 weeks.
Every day is like, it gets heavier.
Cheryl Pabitau's mother, Susanna, and her father, Alberto, both died in the same New Jersey hospital a week apart due to complications from coronavirus.
People said things will get easier day by day, and I'm like, no, I feel like it's the opposite for me. Day by day, it gets harder for me.
They both died alone. Cheryl said goodbye to her father on FaceTime. She and her siblings weren't even allowed to have a funeral.
When they got cremated, we couldn't even hug each other because we just FaceTimed, and then we prayed through FaceTime. That's how we had their service.
Cheryl's parents were married for 44 years. This morning, her uncle, who also has coronavirus, is in the ICU fighting for his life. There may be some good news that we got from New York's governor yesterday. The number of deaths has been far fewer. The number of hospitalizations actually recently was under 600, and the number of people being discharged from the hospital has risen considerably. It sounds like good news, but the governor says it's too early to tell if that's just a blip on the radar or if it's a trend. We will be back at 7:30 to bring you more of our report from inside that ICU in Brooklyn. Tony.
Possibly some glimmers of hope there, David. Thank you very much.